Going to be talking about Martagons today. We have Lori Heppert here, and she is now in BC instead of being out in Alberta, where you grew up in Alberta, right, Lori?
No, I grew up in BC.
Oh, did you? Okay, I take that
Yeah.
back. Anyways, you've been in Alberta for a long, long time.
No.
Anyways, she is going to be she is our Martagon expert, and she is part of the Alberta Lily Society. And Alberta is the hot spot of growing Martagons in North America and hybridizing them. And she has been an integral part of the Alberta Lily Society. She has helped run shows. She has helped run. She has been the secretary, the newsletter editor, and also the bulb sales. She's an intrinsic part of looking after that. So I will now give you Lori. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this is the cover page. This is session 2. It's Martagons at the Lily Show, the most popular Martagon varieties and how to identify, grow, and show them. And this is an appendix to the judging lilies. Next. Okay, this is basically why I am doing this presentation. I've been with Arles for a long time, and I've done many shows with Arles and with Nels. Next. Okay, where do Martagons grow? They grow in partial shade, under trees with dappled sunlight. Anywhere you grow hosta, you can grow Martagons. If you grow them in a sunny location, plant a ground cover to keep the bulbs cool, and anywhere above that they do not sit in water. This is a morning sun location, so you can see it's shaded by mid-afternoon, and it's on the north side of an Edmonton garage. Next. Planting Martagons. This was excerpt from Let's Grow Lilies, and this is what Arles gives out at their bulb sales. And we give this to let people know how to plant their Martagons, especially. We do it for all of the lilies, but this one's for Martagons, and gives the best chance of having them grow for you. So Martagons take 7 years from seed to bloom and another 4 years before the bulb is sizable for sale. This is why your bulb is priced high. The hybridizers are working on that, and a lot of them have come down in price. Growers may have limited numbers of some hybrids as they are slow to divide, which makes them higher in price. The rules are good drainage. Lilies hate wet feet. Raised planters are the ideal. Plant on a slope if you have one. Where to plant? Most lilies do well in the sun or partial sun. Martagons like the dappled shade with cool feet, but do tolerate full sun without ground cover. I know I've done it. Plant on the north side of buildings or fences with hosta or under trees where some sun will reach. Plant a leafy perennial to shade the ground in full sun. Do not plant in a full shade area. Lilies love humus. Mix it up 12 to 18 inches in depth. Recipe is 1 part humus, compost, or peat moss, 2 parts soil, 1 part sharp sand or vermiculite. And this is especially important if you have clay soil. How much humus? Never too much. Plant promptly. The sooner your lily starts rooting with its new home, the better it will survive the winter. This rule is important with Martagons as they are an early lily. The shortest time out of ground ensures a spring appearance the next year. How deep? We hear this a lot, except for that Madonna Easter lily that you planted out in the garden with no more than 1 inch of soil coverage. Lilies like 3 to 4 inches of coverage for small bulbs. If you make an O with your forefinger and thumb, that's a small bulb. And 4 to 6 inches of coverage for larger bulbs. And if you make a fist, and you should be lucky to get a bulb that big, you basically cover with dirt to the depth 3 times the size of the bulb. So if you see your bulb, you know that 3 times that size is the dirt on top. Lilies will actually shift a bit up or down to their happy spot in your soil. Do not plant too shallow or the stem roots will not form and the lily stem will blow over in the wind. Many members experience good growth by digging an 8-inch deep hole, mixing vermiculite or grit into the bottom 2 inches, fluffing it up, and sprinkle with copper sulfate or the now widely restricted bulb dust, here in Canada anyway. This provides a good drainage base. Spacing to allow room for the inevitable bulb division over time, 5 to 10 years for Martagons. Place bulbs 4 to 12 inches apart, depending on the bulb size and how prolific the cultivar, if you know it. Actually, that should say, yeah, cultivar's right. Place in groupings of 3 for a splendid display. Spread out the roots along the bottom of the hole. Next. Feeding. Water immediately. Even if it's raining, they need moisture now. For Martagons, water in well with lukewarm water. 2 to 5 gallons should be sufficient, and this seems to help hold off the transplant shock, and they may not sulk. As you pour water on them, repeat this prayer. Come on, grow. Soak them good. This ensures that the bulbs can reroot and be ready for that long, cold winter in good shape. The well-drained spot you put them in will ensure they do not rot. Fertilize with 214-0 or any good bulb slow release fertilizer in the spring. Remember, the numbers mean leaves, flowers, roots, so select accordingly. Mark where you put them, label them with their name. You can show a lily with a name and have the satisfaction of being able to talk about your babies by name instead of trying to describe the color and the markings. Be especially vigilant with pets and deer, as they can rearrange your lily bed and tags. A safe bet is to create a little plan of where you put your bulbs and list the names next to the X's. That way, if your bulb has not moved, you can retag without headaches. Lost tags have been everyone's problem at some time. Martagons especially need to be marked, as they sometimes sulk or suffer from transplant shock. They do not like to be moved. So pick a spot you know you want them to be for a long, long time. If they do not show above ground, it is because they are busy strengthening up underground. Wait for it. You will have a good-sized blooming stem. If the stem comes up and dies back or does not come up, do not dig it up to find out if it's there. Leave it be for 1 year. It needs time to settle into its new home. Mulch. This keeps the bulbs insulated in the winter, the weeds down in the summer, and the lily roots cool too. The moisture also sticks around longer under the mulch, so you don't have to water as often. But beware, lily beetles like to be in the mulch for the winter. So it's a win-lose-win situation. Extra diligence. Some gardeners worry about pests and disease. Arles aims to provide clean, dirt-free bulbs to avoid pests like the lily beetle. To ensure cleanliness before planting, soak for 20 minutes in a 10% bleach solution and sprinkle with bulb dust or copper sulfate during planting, because your bulb is probably 10 to 15 years old, flowering age, and you paid good money for it. It makes sense. What happened to my slide? Hello? Where's my slides?
It's disappeared.
I know.
I believe we lost Lynn, so she'll be coming back.
Oh, all right. And she's got the slides.
I have them
Slide
too.
presentation is on my other computer.
No, it's okay. I have them. Oh, here she comes again. Okay.
Yay.
Yes. Lori, and you were doing so well too.
Yeah, I was on a roll.
You were. But I also have the slides, and I don't know if we can screen share, but I have the slides just in case something happens. Okay.
Cool. All right. So where was I? Oh, yes. You paid good money for it, so it makes sense to provide it with the best home you can so you can enjoy it for years. We recommend that you purchase the book Martagons by Eugene Fox if you are on your way to becoming a Martagon grower. It has everything you need to know about Martagons. So this is what we give with every bulb we sell. Next. Okay, this is our Martagon show schedule. So we are the only ones that have a Martagon show, so it's a little different than what you guys would see on an annual show, because all we do is Martagons. The class 1 through 7 are the registered and typical. Seedlings will depend on your local hybridizers and Martagon collectors. So this is just for your information, unless you come to our show and want to put in a stem. On the right-hand side, this is the Arles Martagon show, best in show registered Martagon winners, except for the second one, which is actually Martagon. Everyone is a registered lily, and that's the year that it won best in show. Next. Okay, a little bit about staging. The stem should be cut to leave 1/3 of the stem to provide nourishment to the bulb for next year. Cut the stem to 1 inch above the whorl you are leaving behind. Your stem requires at least 1 whorl on the cut stem to show off the leaves. The stem should be wedged into the holder with rhubarb or other unobtrusive wedges to an upright form. Stage the stem so the whorl is above the holder and in its natural layout form. Not like the left, do it like the right. A straight lily, well groomed and staged, has a better chance of winning a ribbon. The left is bad staging, not showing the leaves. The right is the good staging, showing the leaves. Of course, you can see they both got red ribbons. So that means first in Canada. Most of this was covered in the NALS 2022 Judging School Session 2. And then you can see the cutout where you're supposed to cut the stem. Definitely want to leave a growing stem behind in the garden. You don't want to cut all your leaves off or you might end up dying the bulb. Next. Okay, the Martagon species and the variants. It's a short list and it doesn't cover everything, but it covers the most popular. It is the Turk's cap lily, Martagon album white, and Lilium Martagon album, Lilium Martagon is pink. The Martagon album variation Superbum is white with a green throat. The variety Dagavense is pink. The variety Pilosculium, I can't say that properly, it's pink with fuzzy buds. Cattonii or Dalmaticum is maroon black. Hirsutum is pink, purplish with heavy fuzzy buds. Martagon variety Albiflorum is white and pink. You won't see all of these at a show, and they're not all available for hybridization either, unless you're really into species. There are others which are rare, hard to grow, or just never make a show. We've had half of those make the show. Other species division lilies, each hybridized with Martagons and grouped with Martagons, are Lilium hansonii, Lilium tinctoense, Lilium medioides, and Lilium distinctum. The hansonii pictures are on the bottom, and I did find one of Albiflorum. So that is quite a nice lily. I'd love to have that one to hybridize with. Next. Okay, Lilium Martagon. Blooms are typically purple pink with, got something in front of my words here. Go away. There we go. Purple pink with dark spots, although it can range from near white to almost black in its different varieties. Classed as a Turk's clap lily, leaves are green and lanceolate and in whorls. Now this is typical for all Martagons. Stems are green and can be flushed with purple or red. Stems can have upwards of 50 blooms or more and be 1 to 2 meters or 3 to 6 feet tall. It originates from Europe and Asia. Okay, natural variations in the species is common. So as you can see, this one has the 2 different varieties, some with spots, some without. Next. Lilium Martagon variety album. These blooms are typically white with no spots, and throat and nectaries are green. Again, called the Turk's cap lily. Leaves are green, lanceolate, and in whorls. Pollen is orange, stigma is whitish, stems are green. Inflorescence can have upwards of 50 blooms or more and be 1 to 2 meters tall or 3 to 4 feet. And it also originates from Europe and Asia. The filaments and style are green. Next. Okay, now these ones, this is the crosses. So the top ones are the Martagons mostly used. It's the pink, the white, and the maroon black. And they're crossed with the Martagon species of L. hansonii, Tsingtsuense, Medialodes, and distinctum. And these have given us most of our Martagon hybrid cultivars. The most popular are the Dal hansonii crosses. And Dal hansonii is a derivative of Dal plus hansonii. So Martagon dalmaticum, although we use Cantonii now, and Lilium hansonii. The oldest popular Dal hansonii are the Baden-Powell Dal hansonii, which is known as Powell Dal hansonii is mostly what it's called. And that was in 1890. The Arho Backhouse has the Dal hansonii Backhouse group in 1890. The Dal hansonii, this is Arho Backhouse in 1921. Dal hansonii Brocade in 1923. Dal hansonii, which is the Martagon album times hansonii Sutton Court in 1925. GE Backhouse did the Dal hansonii Early Bird in 1957. And Frank Skinner did have Dal hansonii Guinea Gold in 1940, Dal hansonii Priscilla in 1940, Dal hansonii Juanita in 1954. And I cannot see the bottom of the screen, but that one was Rosalinda. Yes. I have to remember the bottoms of the screens, I guess. Next. Questions?
There are a couple on the chat
On the
side.
chat? Can I open the chat?
I can just ask my question. Is there a way to differentiate between Martagon album and a hybrid that might be pure white? Like, is there any tricks in terms of differentiating those two?
It's really difficult.
Okay. I thought it would be.
Yes. About the only one that doesn't fall into that would be Megan Evans because it's pollenless.
Right.
So if you've got a trait that you know that would not be Martagon album, it would be a lot easier. But yeah, all of the white ones, unless there's a specific trait, it's going to be hard to tell.
And if I may, I have a second question about a Lilium hansonii. Are its petals asymmetric? Like, is there sort of a wider gap at the bottom of the 6 petals or tepals in Lilium hansonii?
And it's kind of asymmetrical, but not as much. Hansonii kind of has fat petals.
Yeah. It's
So
Lilium disticum is the one that is distinctly asymmetric.
And Tsingtsuense is too. It is what I call a butterfly form. And you'll notice that in some of the slides that I'm going to have following, that Tsingtsuense, although it blooms upright, gives an outward face, and it has a butterfly form. When
because I got a hansonii from Yayan, and it's very vigorous, but it's almost orangey yellow, and it's a little bit asymmetric. So I'm wondering, is it actually maybe a disticum hybrid or something?
Again, because it is a species, it does have variation. So it will depend on your area, growing conditions, and which variety of species you have. You know, because Hansonii comes in a light yellow, a medium, a bright, and an orangey yellow. So the ones I've had have been a very almost luminescent light yellow. So.
And Ted asked a question, do you know of any recent seed collection from the wild Lilium Martagon from Europe and Asia? And I might answer that question. I would contact Darm Cook Crook from the Northwest Territories, because he is quite aware of wild lily seeds, and he could probably direct you that way. Okay, Ted?
Yeah, yeah. Darm deals
Darm
with a
has
lot
a
of
lot of seeds.
species. Yeah.
And and
that.
Hugh was mentioning that there is a Martagon species that has scattered leaves. There always has to be an exception.
Of course there is.
Yeah, I got the Martagon album from Diane Putland, and she got it from Bert Porter, and it has definitely scattered leaves. A Mart album with scattered leaves.
There we go. So not always world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've seen some even hybrids that have what I call stepped whorls.
Yeah.
So that's kind of weird too, where they don't stay in their segregated surround. They step up the stem.
And I've got probably a couple of pounds of Martagon and Martagon album. That's why at the beginning I showed you those little bags that was just testing to see if it was still good. And of course, it's not wild collected, but it's from the old Oregon Bulb Farm seed. And I would be thrilled to share it with somebody because it's not doing me any good in my freezer. So let me know if you want some of that.
Okay, shall we move on? Let's
Yes.
go into the identifying part where everybody's anxious there.
Next. Oh. Okay. So this is where we get into specifically our lily shows. And this is the red shades registered. If it's got a star, it's Canadian. Sorry, I had to designate for the Canadian hybridizers. And if it's red on the list, it has won multiple ribbons. And if it's in the black, it has made a show and won ribbons, but it isn't as popular at any of our Martagon shows. So you can see where some of them, and I'm surprised we have black prints on there because nobody wants to cut it, where people have actually brought in certain lilies. And a few of them have made the show a few times, but not in the multiples of the ones in red. Okay, next. Okay, so this is Del Hansonii. Again, you can see it's Cattonii times Hansonii. 1890, Baden-Powell. Inside is maroon, and if it's dark, or I just added, it's maroon chestnut red because it's not totally maroon. It's flushed with orange in the tepal centers and into the throat. It's heavily spotted with orange halos in the tepal. It's 1.3 to 1.6 meters or 4 to 5 feet tall. It's June, July, and it's derived from variety Dalmaticum, synonym of Cattonii times Hansonii. The original clone had chestnut brown red flowers with gold spots and stem height of 1.15, 3 to 5 feet. The spots will sometimes show on the backside of the tepal. Tepal margins will sometimes show orange, and the stems can show a dark coloring. So it's not always, the same as what the registry says, because the variety is a little bit old, and I'm not sure that it's all the same, although Dalhansonia tends to hybridize pure. There's a bit of variation in it. Okay, next. Okay, this is Claude Schride, unknown parentage, 1980 registry. Flowers are dark red with a few yellow-orange spots. There is a dart in the mid-tepal. Buds are whitish to green. Tepals are mildly ruffled. Stigma is yellowish. Pollen is orange. Leaves are mid-green. Stems are 1.2 to 1.9 or 4 to 6 feet tall and dark. And the bolded is the traits that I have actually found when growing this lily. It's strange that they don't say the stems are dark, because most of the time you will see a very dark stem on it rather than just green. And sometimes there's almost a yellow-orange picote edge on the tepals. So I show multiple pictures just so you can get an idea of the range and in the different colors with the sun, shade. Okay, next. Okay, who is who? So the first one was grown as clodshide, but is it? It's not a distinctive orange throat, so it's not really Dalhansonii. It has a dart, it has spots, more than a few, and with halos, has a white stigma, reddish style and filaments. The buds are hairy but not whitish. Stems are dark and the pollen is orange. So could possibly be clodshide, or it might be a cross from clodshide. Dalhansonii Powell, it's chestnut red, lots of spots, trademark orange throat, pollen is orange, and the stems are green. C is clodshide. It's more dark red, not so chestnut, no orange throat, distinctive dart, only a few spots with halos. The tepals are slightly ruffled, white stigma, pollen orange, whitish buds, dark stems. And Theodore Haber is D, and that is maroon, and it's more like sarsi in color. It's mid-tepal micro maroon spots, no halos, on a lighter maroon pinkish patch. You see that right in the mid-basal area of the petal. The tepals are slightly ruffled. The stigma and stamens match the petals, dark stems and maroon buds. So you have these in your garden. You want to make sure that you know which ones are which. The easiest way is to plant them close to each other so that you can take one look and then you can look at it again, 3 feet away, and you can make sure from there what the characteristics are as they're growing up in your garden. Next. This is Hansing. Okay, so this is Dalhansonii times Tsingsoense. It's Robinson in 1964. And this, you can see, has the formation from Tsingsoense. It shows the butterfly flower. It's bright light red. Center is pale yellow. Outside is pale, unspotted, although you can see little spots on the mid picture. Okay, the stems are 1.2 to 1.5 meters or 4 to 5 feet with 20 flowers on the inflorescence. In the registry, it says it's an unacceptable name. It's got the same bloom formation as mahogany bells due to the Tsingsoense parentage. There are minuscule spots in mid-tepal haloed in yellow-orange, and that only really shows up in the sun. Stamens, style, and pollen in a light orange. Stigma is whitish, and the blooms are more outfacing than downfacing. So you can see it grows quite short in my garden, which is the outside pictures are from. The center picture is from a show. And you can see the different spotting in there, which is quite interesting because it doesn't say that in the registry. Next. Okay, Maroon King, heritage unknown, registered in 1996. Inside maroon red, the throat is a greenish yellow. It's many self-colored spots in the center of the tepal on a light pink base. Tepals, and that's the size of the tepals themselves. The outside is pink, but the back has a whitish hue, and that is a very distinctive mark on this lily. The nectaries are greenish, the pollen is orange, the pistil is light maroon. Stems are 1.4 meters or 4 feet. They are mid-green, but you will note they are maroon mottled. Leaves are mid-green. Flowers have smooth margins and tips are not recurved. These flowers are more like little cups open to show the whitish interior. Okay. The tepals are a close color match to sarsi or Theodore Haber. Pollen is orange and the stems are not as dark as Sarsi or Theodore Haber. The trademark whitish back and the front mid-tepal pink white, white pink are the two identifying markers. Filaments, can't read the bottom of this. The filaments, I believe, are.
Filaments are in style are whitish. Stigma is a maroonish.
There we go. Why can't I see the bottom of my
Maybe you change the view from or the view options. Go to 50% and see if that shows.
I don't know where my options are.
Up on top, the top bar.
There we go, view options.
And then you scroll down, you'll
Oh,
see
hide
zoom
video
ratio.
panel. That work?
No, zoom ratio. Do it zoom ratio 50%. See if that does it.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's really small, but I can work with that.
It's not as
Okay.
big. Got to compromise.
Well, as long as everybody's looking at it in the size that they need it, that's fine.
But that gives you the full screen with all the writing. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Next. Thank you. Okay. Port wine. This has made our show a few times. Martagon album, Times an Unnamed Seedling, 1982. It's red purple. The leaves are whorled. The stems are 1 to 2 meters or 3 to 4 feet. This gives you an awful lot of leeway as to what port wine is. So you will have to grow it, or you will have to look at all of the pictures that everybody's posted. I found that there's no spots. It's a self-colored dart. Style and filaments are pinkish. The pollen is orange. The stems are green with a purple mottling. And in the sun, the petals show off a pink glow. So, this is something that happens with a lot of the darker lilies. In the sun, there's a glow that the petals will give off. So this one is a pink. Sarsi is more maroonish. Black Prince is more of a maroon crimson and maroon black glow. So next. So Black Prince derived from the backhouse hybrids and other Hansoniae crossed with Martagon hybrids. So Skinner, 1944. It's very dark mahogany, almost black with reddish glow at the edge of the petals. It's 1 to 2 meters or 3 to 4 feet. Okay. It's got crimson maroon black petals. So it's one of the darkest lilies. It's got darker margins on it. The filaments and the pistil are maroon. The pollen is orange. Style is whitish. Stems are dark. The buds color up with the dark petal margins. And this cultivar does not propagate well through bulb division. The right picture is from my garden. And it was over 50 blooms on that stem that year. And then it decided to decline. So I'm not happy. Next. Theodore Haber, Martagon variety Dalmaticum or Cotonii times Tinsoense, 1975, dark shiny red with orange yellow pollen. The stems are 1 meter or 3 feet. Now this one, because it's Tinsoense, does not show the butterfly form, which normally comes through. Very weird. The filaments are whitish to red and the stems are purplish. Okay. Sarsi, on the other hand, unnamed Martagon hybrid times Hansing, has a little fatter petal because of the Hansing. Again, 1988, Charlton. It's a deep red. Tips are almost black. The Exterior of the outer 3 petals are strong purplish red. The exterior of the inner 3 petals is 53A. They didn't say what color, so it wasn't one of the other things. So it's a different color than all of the other ones. With a stripe of purplish red unspotted. The nectary is purplish red, pollen strong orange. Petals are that size. So it's narrowish, not ruffled, strongly recurved. The leaves are whorled. Size is there. Mid-green, stems are 1.2 meters or 4 feet. They are dark green with 16 or more flowers on the inflorescence, and it's in June. The pistils on both Martagons color match to the petals. The sarsi filaments are purple red. This is something that really makes a lot of the dark lilies stand out, is if they have a color match. It would be really nice to have a pollen that was a nice color match to them as well, but that doesn't happen yet. Next. Cherry marble and Chernova, they're close. So I put them on the same page so you can see the same pictures of them. Cherry marble is towering delight times Catonii. It's a box lily, and inside is a deep maroon red at the tips, giving way to spots haloed in white, with white halos emerging randomly over the middle third of each petal, where spots are most numerous. The throat is pink, outside of outer petals all white. Outside of inner petals are maroon red and with white ribs. The spots are maroon red and range from the tips to below the pink and white nectaries. The pollen is cinnamon, turning to yellow. The flowers are basically 2 inches wide. The petals are there, not ruffled, strongly recurved, forming balls. The leaves are whorled and they're mid-green. Stems are 1.35 meters or 4 feet. They're green, mottled with black, and there's 18 to 28 blooms on the inflorescence. In June, early July. Note the color of filaments, stigma, and style. The Chernova is Rosalinda times unknown, 1993, registered by Dan Dale. He doesn't usually grow his own lilies, but he registers a lot. Inside white in the lower half, red purple at tips, and with a pink throat. Outside is red purple, numerous medium-sized spots on the white part of the petals. The spots in the pink are haloed in white. Okay, so it's different on that. Nectaries are pink, pollen is rusty gold, flowers are 80 millimeters is 3 inches. Petal size, not ruffled. Tips are slightly recurved. Leaves are whorled. Size of the leaves are there, mid-green. Stems 1 meter to 1.2 meters, which is 3 to 4 feet. And they're light green, mottled with black, and 28 to 32 blooms per stem. So you can see Chernova is same height as cherry marble, but it should produce more blooms on the stem than cherry marble. Again, the filaments and the style, there's the different colors to them. So between the two, with, you know, the way the spots show up and the coloring, you should be able to distinguish between them. A lot of times it's really good to have the registry at the show so that you can look between the flowers and see the differences, which really only shows up with the registry or experience. Next. Okay, Leafland Wine. This one's shown up. I put it in there because it is quite popular in Alberta. It's unregistered. It's a Robert Erskine. It's claret wine red flowers, not just wine red. When fully open, petals are very recurved, forming balls. It's got a licorice green stem and orange pollen with no spots. And the stigma color matches the petals. Okay, Redmond is Hansonii times Medulodes, and you get Frank Skinner's published 1948. It's red, few spots in the deep red haloed in orange. Stems are 1 to 1.2 meters, 3 to 4 feet, and it's July. And for some reason, the registry says intermediate between parents. Not sure exactly what they were saying there. Okay, next. So these are the pink shades. Amelita, Moonine, Raspberry Delight, Sweet Betsy, Towering Delight, all have gotten ribbons, shown up many times in the show. The other ones have shown up once or twice and gotten ribbons, so they're not as popular, but they have shown up in the shows. Next. So Sweet Betsy, Heritage Unknown, registered by Dan Dale, 1993. The inside is cream suffused with pink. It's got a cream throat. Nectaries are cream. Outside is cream overlaid with pink midribs in deep pink. A few maroon spots in deep pink, randomly distributed on the basal part of the tepal. It's got gold pollen. Margins are smooth. The tips are slightly recurved. It's got 18 to 20 flowers per stem. The leaves are mid-green. Stems are 1.7 meters or over 5 feet and plum colored. Okay, and you can see by the stem, it's not really plum colored. It might have a few spots in it, but the pedestals are quite long. The outside edges of the tepals are almost an amber cream. I have noticed some tepals have slightly ruffled margins. The stems are more spotted with plum than plum. Some blooms are more suffused pink than others, more sun, more pink, and I have not really observed golden pollen on the flowers. I put in the 2 pictures of the yellow flowers because those are the pictures of the Sweet Betsy that I grew indoors. So you can see with no sun that they are more yellow than pink. So if you put it outside in the garden, it's more pink than yellow. Next. Amelita. Parentage unknown, Fred Tarleton, registered 1993. The inside is moderate purple red with a stronger purplish red throat, numerous spots on midsection of each tepal, outside in deep purple pink. The nectaries are light yellow green, pollen is vivid yellow, tepal margins are smooth, the tips are recurved, pedestals are unusually long, see by the stem. Leaves are mid-green, stems are 1.2 meters or 4 feet, and they are mid-green, usually 12 blooms in the inflorescence. So you can see by this one, it's a little bit more above average. Amelita has more intense pink color than Moonine with haloed spots of maroon pink. It also has an orangish dart like Moonine. The stem is straight. Note that pedestals are more sloping than Moonine. You can see where the upper ones are sloping down, so it's not straight out. Here's the next one. Okay, so this one again, parentage unknown as well. Tarleton, 1988. The inside is moderate purplish pink, not a deep pink. The throat and tepal tips are deep purplish pink. The outside is very pale purple pink. Many moderate purplish red spots on the basal half of each tepal. The nectaries are moderate orange yellow. The pollen is a strong orange. Tepal margins are smooth and moderately reflexed. The leaves are dark green. Stems are 1 meter or 3 feet, mid to dark green. The inflorescence has 12 or more flowers. Okay, there's more spots than Amelita. Maroon spots have a slight light pink halo. It has distinctive apricot orange dart from the nectaries out, and a genetic stem S-curve circled on most of the stems there. The pedestals are quite long and do not crowd the inflorescence. And I've got the next page too to show you as well. Okay, and you can see that genetic S curve really, really strongly right there. Yeah. If you can't figure out what it is, look for the S curve. Winine always has it. Doesn't matter. I've talked to everybody. They all say, oh yeah, by the way, it does have that. You know, so yeah, it's genetic. Next. Okay, Raspberry Delight, parentage unknown by Robinson. It was hybridized in 75, but it was registered by Dan Dale in 1993. The inside is raspberry rose pink with a light pink throat. There are some very fine sporadic spots framed in cream on the center of each tepal. The nectaries are cream. Pollen is a rusty orange. The outside is raspberry rose pink. The tepal margins are smooth and the tips are strongly recurved. They're pale green leaves. Stems are 0.9 meters or 3 feet. They're plum colored on the upper stem and brown at the base. Okay, there's an apricot orange dart from the nectary up. The midrib style is rose to apricot. Stigma filaments have a rosy apricot flush over the cream. And you can just see the very fine peppering of spots in the left photo. Yeah, it's with the light behind it. You don't see the spots unless the light's shining through the petals. Next. Okay, now this one, it's on the same page because there is quite a bit of mix up with this one. Towering Delight is brocade times Dalhansoniae times Stinsoense. It's a Robinson. It's registered in 1980. And it says inside is mauve pink, outside is paler with a few maroon spots. Strongly recurved petals, which none of the pictures show. Inflorescence with 15 plus blooms on 1.5 meters or a 5-foot stem in dark green. The leaves are also dark green. Okay. Pink attraction, parentage is Dalhansoniae times unknown. Robinson registered in 1980. So same hybridizer, same year. Inside dark pink with some cream towards the base. Outside paler pink. Spots are large and reddish over the basal half of the tepals. The tepals are slightly recurved, and most of the pictures show very recurved. The inflorescent with 12 blooms, stems 1 meter or 3 feet. The leaves are mid-green. Okay, so when you look at these pictures and one says that it is strongly recurved petals, but it shows a flat flower, and the other one is slightly recurved, but shows a recurved flower, you kind of go, And what I've noticed is that Pink Attraction was sold as Towering Delight in Western Canada, and care to distinguish the characteristics between them is needed. I've noted that Towering Delight is a flatter flower than Pink Attraction. So who is who? And I've purchased Pink Attraction that actually turned out to be Gaybird as well. So I'm still trying to figure out whether this was mixed up in the registry or whether it's just mislabeled and sold to something else. I'm not sure. The closest I found to the registry is the Pink Attraction Towering Delight that Leanne Dowd published in one of her articles as the strong pink. And you can see the petals are wider and sort of shorter, whereas the Towering Delight shows a thinner, longer petal. Again, it's not recurved strongly like the registry shows on either of them. So it's one of those things where it's a trial and error. I've bought Pink Attraction 3 times just to try and figure out if I'm getting the right lily. Again, experience is everything with these two. Next. And here you can see even from Nigel and Fran's officer, they've got 2 different pictures of Pink Attraction. And the one on the left, I would say was more towering delight. But that's just from my experience. So experience will give expertise. Next. Questions.
Does Claude Tried have bigger flowers? That's my sense. Like it's quite distinctive from a lot of other Martagons in the size of the flowers themselves.
It does have a larger bloom. I found though that Dalhansonii does have the almost the same size bloom because I've grown them side by side.
And Hugh Skinner had a comment. Do you want to mention that, Hugh? I can't on the chat make it quite out.
Yes, I had you were talking about the parentage of red man, and I think in the registry it's listed as Hansonii bimetalloides, and it's described as being midway between the two. But I think if that midway between the two is correct, it should list it as Dalhansonii bimetalloides rather than Hansonii bimetalloides. I think there's an error in the registry there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just took it right from the registry.
Yeah.
Mm.
So the thing with the Robinson pink attraction, I've never grown towering delight, but gay bird, and there's a Eugene fox, registered Manitoba fox, I believe it's called, that I believe are identical. I can't distinguish between the two. So there is some confusion in that whole group.
Yes, there is.
Just to make life easier for us all.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. You basically have to start collecting the ones that you're confused with and grow them yourself and figure out what the differences are and where you can clarify things. And it really works as a judge and as a hybridizer to collect these different lilies and find out the differences.
Can I ask you about that genetic S-curve in the stem thing? Because I've had some yellow hybrids, again, from Yayan, that are like a super accentuated S. I mean, it goes like really wonky. And it seems to come back every year like that. So that's a genetic thing in the plant, is it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Moonyin will always have that S curve. And I don't know where they get it, because most of the other lilies that I grew did not have it. But, you know, here I am trying to grow it for the show and it's got an S curve. And it's like, okay, well, this is gorgeous except for that. You know, do I cut it? You know, is it going to have points taken off for it? And I started talking to people and they're going, it always comes up with the S curve.
Yeah.
So it's just genetic. It's
I
in that.
I frequently see that in Sweet Betsy also.
Yeah, I haven't grown Sweet Betsy enough to notice it. So, and it doesn't show up in the shows often enough for, you know, notable examination. So, but if you grow lilies, you will notice it year after year. And Moonyin definitely has that S curve every year and in all of the stems.
Okay, I guess that's it. You're on to the next section.
Okay,
Thank you.
next. Hey, these are the orange shades. Not so many orange shades that make the show in numbers. Or burnt orange and orange marmalade are almost every show. The rest in, you know, various times they come in. Okay, next. Okay, so burnt orange, the parentage unknown, registered by Dan Dale in 1995. It's inside brilliant orange yellow. The tips are a strong orange yellow with dark red spots over the central section of each petal, much smaller spots over the basal third, and nectaries are brilliant orange yellow. Pollen is vivid orange yellow. Flowers are not quite 2 inches across. Petal size is there, not ruffled. Tips are slightly recurved. The leaves are whorled and mid-green. Stems are 1.5 meters or 5 feet, which is moderate dark olive green with inflorescence of 14 blooms. Okay, I don't know if I'd say it's a moderate dark olive. Yeah, it's dark. Because, yeah, the stem there does not look like a moderate green. The filaments are light orange. The pistil looks green. The spots have a slightly lighter orange halo on them. Next. Okay, so this is orange marmalade. It's Hansonii times Dinsoense. So again, you'll notice the butterfly form of the flower. It's hybridized by Robinson, registered in 1994 by Dan Dale. The flowers are a dull orange inside, brownish orange outside, unspotted. The nectaries are orange, the anthers are white, and they lack pollen. Flowers are 3 inches wide. They can be bigger. They are outfacing. Petals are not ruffled. The tips are slightly recurved. The leaves are whorled. And they're mid-green. The stems are 1.2 to 1.5 meters, which is 4 to 5 feet. They are black with some green mottling and inflorescence of 24 to 32 blooms. It was also an early distribution with the name Sinson, which was an illegitimate name, so it was re-registered as orange marmalade. So we have had Sinson actually make the show as well. It's not as popular in that name, but it's nice to know it's actually the same lily as orange marmalade. Style and filaments are orange. Stigma is red orange. The blooms have the Cinxoense butterfly influence in their form, and it is a strong garden lily. I had this thing planted in my new garden in BC. Every stem came up and bloomed the year I planted it. And I was not kind to these lilies because they were potted, unpotted, repotted, planted, all in a year and a half. So this is a very strong lily. Next. Apricot jewel. This is Hansonii open pollinated. So it's got the wider petals from Hansonii. It was hybridized by Russell Bennett, registered by Brian Bennett in 2011. The inside of the tepals are a strong orange, paler towards the margins, and shading to brilliant orange yellow at the tips. Throat is a strong orange. The outside of the tepals are a light orange yellow, very few small elliptical spots, a vivid red orange, widely and irregularly scattered. The nectaries are a strong orange. Pollen is moderate red. Stigma is strong orange. The flowers are just under 3 inches wide, and the tepals have smooth margins and tips are slightly recurved. Stems are a vivid yellow-green with up to 25 blooms on a 38 centimeter inflorescence. That's 380, so that is about 14 inches. Okay, the one thing that stands out with this cultivar is the petals glow. Filaments and style are a color match to the petals, and the stigma is more orange to match the pollen. When I mean glow, I mean glow. You see this in person and it glows. It's not anything like the pictures. You can't get that glow in the pictures. I've tried. Next. Okay, Hansonii marhanax. This is a selection from the Marhan group registered in 1992. The petals are an orangish brown with a pale apricot center, reddish tips, and pale yellow beige base. Fairly numerous, small dark spots over each of the petals, outside with a yellowish green and yellowish ribs. The pollen is brown. Stigma is dark violet. Flowers are pendulous. It's just over 2 feet or 2 inches wide for the petals. That's the flowers, sorry, 2-inch wide flowers. It's reflexed. The leaves are whorled and dull green. The stems are 1.2 meters or 4 feet and spotted. Okay, now this one was weird because we actually had this one classified in the red group in our lily show. So it will sometimes get classified into the reds depending on how red the tips are showing. So if it's more orangish brown, it'll get classified in the orange groups. If it's more red, it will get classified in the red group. So it's one of those things where if you know your registry, you'll get it into the right class. If you're not as up on the registry and you're just looking at the color, it'll get put in the red class. Next. Nepera. Okay, this is a Terrace City hybrid by Tsingsoense hybrid. It's a grayed orange. The outside is gray orange with numerous small red spots. The nectary is a gray orange. The pollen matches the spots. Stems 1.14 feet and green. The inflorescence is 10 to 12 blooms. Okay, now you can see that the clear throat spots are in the outer 2/3 of the petals. The darker orange dart coming from the nectaries in the mid-petal. Mid-petal has a lighter orange where the spots are arranged. I've noticed filaments. Pollen and stigma and style are colored the same as the petals. Again, the butterfly form from Tsingsoense. Now this lily is very well color coordinated because it is beautifully orange on orange. It just shows very well in a show. And I'm not so sure about that gray orange. They could have probably picked a different color of orange to signify that, but it's very distinctive in its orange. Next. Okay, Brunswick is Terrace City Hybrids Group times Tsingsoense. Registered in 1999, published in the German Lily Group sales list in 1998, was also distributed as Brunswick Beauty. Okay, that's all it says. It's got less spots than Nepera. The petal color is more orange, not the gray orange of Nepera. The petals are not as wide as Nepera. The stem is a dark olive, not green. The stigma matches the spots, and the style, filaments, and pollen match the petal color. The butterfly form of Tsingsoense shows up in this lily as well. So if you have them side by side, you can tell them apart. If one shows up at the show and the other one doesn't, you're going to have a bit more of a problem unless you know your registry or you grow them. We've had them both show up, not necessarily in the same show, but you can see the difference between this one and the previous one in the width of the petals. Next. So these are the yellow shades. Ottawa, the Backhouse Hybrid Group, Early Bird, Guinea Gold, Mrs. Arho Backhouse, the Paisley Hybrid Group, and the Terrace City Hybrid Group are all very, very common in our shows. The other ones have shown up and won ribbons, but they're not as common. Next. So this is Ottawa. Okay, 1988, or Tarleton. It's got a near strong yellowish pink. The tips are a strong purple pink. The throat is a strong orange. You don't really notice that in the close-up. Outside is a light orange yellow at the edges, merging to 68B, which I'm assuming is more of a yellowish orangey pink in the center. Many purple spots on the inner half of each petal. Nectaries are strong orange. Pollen is a strong orange. And the petals, see the width and the length there, not ruffled, moderately recurved. The leaves are whorled and mid-green. The stems are 0.9 meters or 3 feet. The light green stems and the inflorescent of about 14 blooms. Okay, so here the spots are haloed with a light orange yellow. There's a strong apricot orange dart halfway up. Can we go back? Thank you. Halfway up the petals from the nectary, petals have an orange-yellow margin 2/3 up and fading to the tips. The filaments and the stigma are apricot. The style is purple-pink, and this stem shows 22 blooms, making it above the registered normal. I did the close-up so that you can see actual changes in the color of the filaments and the style and stigma. Because it's sort of a lighter orange, and then it goes to the pinker color at the end. And you can see the filaments come out with a strong apricot orange to a lighter orange. You can see the heavy orange in the dart there, and it definitely has petal margins of a creamy orange on it. So it's quite a striking lily. Next. Early Bird. It's a selection from the Backhouse hybrids from 1957. So this one could get confused with any of the other Backhouse hybrids because it's in that same parentage. It's yellow ochre, flushed magenta rose, and spotted with erythrite red. Now, those are specific colors, so you would have to have the color wheel to actually color match this with anybody else. The spots are haloed yellow that matches the filaments. And the stigma is yellow cream and the pollen is orange. So if you know that it's early bird, those extra little bits will help you identify it. Next. Guinea Gold. This is Hansonii times Lilium Martagon. Again, Frank Skinner in 1946. This is a buttercup yellow, spotted brown. Buds are pink. Stems 1.2 to 1.5 meters, 4 to 5 feet in July. Okay, backside has dark pink midribs. The pollen is orange. This cultivar is also presented in different forms. The experience will allow a judge to know which is the true cultivar. We have had Guinea Gold show up in the show that did not look like Guinea Gold, but was presented as Guinea Gold. So unless you know it, you can't go by the name on the tag. So again, you have to have experience with this one because it does get mixed up with a few other lilies. Don't know whether it's mislabeled in the garden of the grower or whether it was purchased wrong. You know, bulbs do get mixed up. So it's one of those things when you grow it, you label it as what you bought it as until you find out it isn't. So this one has the same sort of mix up as Towering Delight, Pink Attraction. So you do have to know your cultivars. Next. Larissa. Okay, I put this one in because it's very popular here. People use it as a hybridizer. So it's not just a garden lily. Martagon hybrid times Saint-Soense. So it has a bit of that butterfly flavor to it in the form of the flower, not as strong as in Nepera or mahogany bells. Again, German lily group sales list, 1988. That's when it was published. Yellow with red spots. The pollen is red. The flower is ball shaped. And it's late June. So you can see it's tightly recurved. All of the pictures show basically the same yellow, the same red spots, the same orange pollen, same color of filaments and stigma and style. So quite a strong lily. Definitely is not mixed up with anything else. Larissa is Larissa when it's presented. Filaments are yellow, the style is orange, the pollen is not a match to the spots, but it is orange. Stems are green. Next. Okay, who is who? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. So look at it. A is guinea gold. Sorry, the top pictures are not really as good as they could be, but they're showing the differences in the flowers. So you go by that. B is gay lights. C is early bird. D is a Terrace City hybrid group. E is brocade. F is brocade, low light. G is guinea gold, and H is early bird. So you can see early bird is just opening, so it's a little different from C, which is fully open. Guinea gold, different from G and A. A is not a well taken picture for color, and G is in full sunlight in the garden. So you can see the pink tips still show up, the yellow centers still show up, the pollen is more orange, not so reddy. So the published colors in the top are not true colors, but it shows you the patterning, which is what I wanted you to see, because these are all really, really closely related. Okay. Next. Mrs. R.O. Backhouse, Mrs. Backhouse, and the Backhouse hybrid group. You're going to have a lot of trouble with these things. If you know your hybrids, you will know exactly which ones are which when they show up and which ones are mislabeled. I don't have as much experience as I would like in these because I don't grow them, but I'm getting there with the different shows. Okay, it's a Martagon and Hansonii cross. It's Mrs. Backhouse and published in 1921. The inside is that Indian yellow. The outside is slightly flushed magenta rose. Slight spotting with uricite red. Petals are reflexed. The leaves are whorled. Stems are 1.5 to 1.9 meters, which is 5 to 6 feet, so it's fairly tall. This old cultivar and the siblings have many variations and similarities. Experience with this group is needed. Again, more sun equals less pink. So it does change depending on where you grow this as well. So I think that when you're looking at these different lilies, you're going to have to have experience. Next. Paisley hybrid group. Now I put Grex in here because that's what it is in the registry. Although if you look down in the bottom corner there, the Grex means group now, which is siblings and cousins all having the similar characteristics. Thus, the Paisley hybrid group would be the current nomenclature. So it's Martagon variety album times Hansonii. So it is a Paisley hybrid group now. John de Graaf did this hybrid registry in 1955. It is yellow-orange, lilac purple, tangerine, or mahogany flowers, all with tiny maroon dots. So because it's registered as a group and it's got 4 distinct color variations, you will have to grow this to find the experience you need in order to actually judge this competently. The flowers are an L. Martagon type, and stems are 1 to 1.5 meters, 3 to 5 feet. I'm taking it that they mean that it doesn't have the fat Hansonii petals. It says the flowers are Martagon type. I don't notice them being as tightly recurved in any of those pictures as L. Martagon, so I don't know exactly which characteristics they're talking about for that type of flower. Next. Okay, the Terrace City hybrid group. So, used to be Grex, now it's group. Again, Martagon times L. Hansonii. It's from Pfeiffer. And the inside is gold and pink, and the stems are 1.5 meters, 5 feet. That gives you a wide range of whatever this is supposed to be. According to the picture, the spots are smaller than Sutton Court. The petal tips are an amber pink. The filaments are yellow-green. The style is green to pink at the end, and stigma is whitish. The pollen is orange, and the stems are green. Okay, so from experience and observation, you can add to the registry. Sutton Court on the bottom is Martagon album times Hansonii, so same hybrid cross. It's Backhouse, published in 1925. So different hybridizer, same crossing. The inside is Naples yellow, the outside with faint shading of China rose, slight spotting of whatever that color is. I would say it's sort of a dark red. Stems of 1.5 meters or 5 feet. Okay, so this is a specific selection of the Backhouse hybrid group. Petals, tips are pink and spots spread to the tips along the margins. Filaments and style are whitish green. Stigma is orangish, and the pollen is deep orange. The stems are plum mottled. Okay, so again, because it's part of the Backhouse hybrid group and it's a specific selection, it is classed in with Mrs. Backhouse and all of the other lilies like brocade, because it's that same grouping. Okay, next. Questions? I hope I can answer them.
Hugh had a couple comments. Do you want to make those comments, Hugh, in the chat section?
So the first one that I have is about Brunswick and Brunswick Beauty. I received bulbs labeled Brunswick Beauty, I believe from Marvin Jocelyn, and I had it listed as that. And Pontus tells me that what I have is Brunswick, and that Brunswick Beauty is yellow. Brunswick is orange, and Brunswick Beauty is yellow. I'm not sure. I haven't been able to confirm that with anyone else, but that I would be inclined to accept Pontus's comment on that. On some of those other ones, Guinea Gold is much shorter than the coloring is very similar to brocade, but it's shorter and has darker stems. Mrs. R.O. Backhouse has a little red blaze in the center of the tepals, and Sutton Court has spots to near the tips. So that's a very confusing group, though. You know,
It is.
You have to be pros.
Well, that's it. I mean, you have to know about the dart, which isn't listed. You have to know about the fact that the spots go up the edges of the petals, which isn't listed. You know, so unless you grow it and you know that it is that cultivar,
you won't know.
You won't know.
You won't know for sure.
Yeah.
And Judith has a question.
I have a question and a comment. I don't understand the difference if you said Paisley hybrids with an S, why would you have to say hybrid group? That's what it means. It means there's more than one clone. So, I mean, why do you have to? That's an odd thing in the nomenclature. I accept that they ask you to do that, but it just seems, because I know, like with the Paisley hybrids, I know when I first came to Oregon bulb farms 50 years ago, they had lots of old frozen seed, and they grew and sold as Paisley hybrids, first and second generations, anything that fit into that group. So they were not an F1 strain or anything. So people could have gotten really different color variations. But the same thing, like with the backhouse hybrids they sold, and they were just anything that you crossed to Mrs. RO, which they grew for a long time. I wish they had grown those longer because they had stopped by the time I started working there. So there's a huge lot I do not know about Martagons, and that's why I'm here to learn. But I think that would help you understand why some of these things that people have gotten over the years, they've selected out one or two clones, but it means there are a whole lot of them, you know.
Yes.
And one of the interesting things to me, because I just love chromosomes, is that Mrs. R.O. Backhouse and that whole group, the first articles that were ever written about lily chromosomes were written about those, and they did all these studies of how their chromosomes did or didn't pair, you know, because they're not super fertile, easy, like just pure Martagons. So that's just my asides, but it would help you understand, because a lot of times people got them under a name with no intention to deceive. They just meant they were all Paisley types intercrossed, and they would always just keep the best ones that gave them the widest variation often. But you would, you know, so of course they were not the same clones, and so there would be a lot of variation. And the other thing I did find out is that the ones that bloom earliest are the ones that are most likely to be confusing with the colors, because when you get those diluted pink colors on the outside and those diluted gold yellow colors on the inside, those are the ones most affected by light and temperature. If it was hot weather, the sun would bleach out a lot of the anthocyanins, but the ones that bloom early in the spring, that's not the case. So it's usually then the cooler it is, you'll see more anthocyanin, you know, and so that's why you think less sun. But you're absolutely right. You got to see those under different conditions, but that also can explain why they do differ so much. And I mean, a lot of mine early pumilum hybrids, you hardly can recognize the difference in the pinks and the whites, depending on how early they bloom and how cool it is that spring. And then the next spring it will be different. So the question I had about this is, I don't know what the range time, blooming time is of the species that go into these hybrids, but does that ever help you to know? Because that's what I thought one of the descriptions where it said intermediate between parents. I just assumed they meant flowering time, because the flowering time is always intermediate between the parents. And sometimes that's a real clue as to whether the parentage is accurate or not. Another thing often the fragrances are, and I mean, I know what Martagons smell like, but I don't know what any of these others really smell like. And does that help you to identify them? Or you have to be
Fragrance,
a
not
nut
so
like me
much.
who always sticks my nose in there.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I-
can't say that
should
the fragrance of
Are they all that same dusky smell? Like Martagons?
some smell more like dirty socks.
Yeah, that's yeah.
And Hugh was going to make a comment
Yeah.
about smell.
Yeah.
Oh, you're breaking up now.
I could tell you a little thing about Red Man. You know, I didn't have it here. I didn't have Red Man here initially, and I searched for it for many years, and I got Dalhansonii, and I got Red Sails, as labeled that. Eventually, I got bulbs from Cherry
Hugh, you're breaking up. Hugh, you're breaking up. Okay. So I guess we'll go on because Hugh's breaking up. Okay.
Clone.
Save the questions for the next one.
Okay, let's go on.
Distinguishing things
White shades registered. Okay, so we've had all of these show up for shows, although Megan Evans is the one that shows up the most. Okay, next. So this is Megan Evans.
Plants, but okay. Yeah,
Okay, so
Okay.
chance seedling from Ian Evans in 2018 registry. The tepals are mainly white, inside tinged strong yellow-green in the throat. The outside is very slightly creamy. Spots and papillae are absent. Nectaries are yellow-green with edges slightly yellower. The filaments light yellow-green. The pollen very little and remaining immature and sterile. The pistils are green and fertile, stigma yellow, light yellow-green. The flowers are about 2 inches wide. They're waxy, slightly scented. The tepals margins are smooth, tips are straight, pedicels are average length. Leaves are whorled in mid-green. Stems are 1.2 to 1.5 meters or 4 to 5 feet. They're dark green with an inflorescence of up to 60, average 35 blooms, with many blooming simultaneously, hardy to USDA Zone 2. Okay, so again, you can see it's a very bright white with the green that offsets the white. Don't really notice that creamy edge because the green offsets the white so much that it's very, very subtle. It made a strong showing at all our shows as a seedling. When it got registered, it's won best in show a couple of times. Apparently made a very strong showing at the Nell shows as well. So it's a very strong grower. I yanked it out of my garden and stuck it in a pot and it went, yay! Took off. I couldn't believe how well it did in the pot rather than out in the garden. And it made the move very nicely and regrew again the next year in the pot, and now it's back in the garden. And it did come up in the garden, even though I abused it. So I'm expecting it to be a strong garden lily too. Next. Okay, other white cultivars. White cultivars are shy and do not make a lot of shows. We are getting many more white seedlings coming to shows, so they may make the registry. This is one Acamina, and the other's Irish Cream. Acamina, Martagon hybrid, by Martagon hybrid, Charlton 1988. The inside is a light yellow, the throat is lighter yellow, the outside is pale yellow with a slight purplish flush. It's an oval, strong orange spots on the inner half of each petal. The nectaries are slightly deeper yellow. The pollen is a moderate yellow. Kind of shows dark orange there. Stems are 0.95 meters or 3 feet. They're mid-green and the inflorescence of 10 blooms. Now this shows kind of a creamy white, not so much yellow. I think it was grown in the sun. Irish Cream, parentage unknown by Eugene Fox, 1992. It's an inside white with a cream tinge towards the center, changing to lime green in the nectaries. Throat is a light green. Outside is a creamy white with mid-green ribs and plum-colored edges at the junction with the pedicel. Sprinkling of very small maroon spots over 2/3 of each petal, and on the reverse, pollen is crimson or cinnamon, sorry. Flowers are 2 inches wide. The petals not ruffled, slightly recurved. The leaves are whorled, dark green with pronounced vein grooves. The stems are 1.4 meters with 5 feet. They're green. The inflorescence of 22 blooms. Blooms in June, early July. So Irish cream hasn't shown up too much. We don't have a great amount of fox hybrids. Tended to ship them out of province, but they have come in occasionally to the show. The Tarleton lilies tend to make the shows a lot more often. Next. So any other color registered? These are the three that have made the shows with any regularity. Mahogany bells the most, with the most ribbons. Next. So this is mahogany bells. After years of trying to get it photographed properly, I finally got some. Zinxuense by Martagon variety Cotonii. So again, you can see that butterfly flower. It's a lusher by 1976. It's mahogany red, definitely mahogany. The throat is a pale cream color, which I have not really noticed. The outside is chestnut brown spotted, and the pollen is brown. Petals are just under 2 inches long. The leaves are whorled. Midrib is a dark purple. And the stems are 1 to 1.2 meters or 4 feet. Now this has the Zinxuense form of the bloom again. The mid petal has the most spots that are hard to see in low light. The color is very hard to photograph. Filaments and style match the petal color, and the stems are dark. Okay, so again, you can see the edges of the petals are slightly darker than the regular petal color, but in the light, you can see the spots. In low light, you don't really see the spots. It just looks like part of the petal color. So it's really nice to see it. When you can see it in person, you'll notice a lot more. If you're looking at mahogany bells in photographs, you won't normally see all of the little subtle differences. Next. Bronze medallion. Okay, this is a Robinson. No parentage was listed. It's a pre-208. Okay, so the inside of the tepals are bronze. It's a muted old gold near the spots in the basal half of each tepal. Spots are chocolate brown, quite large, round to elliptic, evenly and densely distributed over basal half of each tepal, also along the margins on the outside of the tepals. Papillae are absent, filaments are yellowish and pale, pollen is dark orange, stigma is a pale orange. The buds are slightly bronzed rose pink, pedestals are long, arching, dark brownish green. Stems are 1.5 to 1.8 meters, which is 5 to 6 feet, and dark. It's early. It's published in the Lily Nut Catalog in 2009. Okay, next. Bronze Beauty. Okay, parentage unknown again. It's unregistered and it's by Robinson. It's a bright orange with a red bronze flush. It's a light orange darts in the mid tepal. Outside has whitish overlay on midribs. Petal coloring wrapping around the edges. Coffee brown spots on the inner 2/3 of the petals. Heloed in yellow orange. The filaments are orange green. Stigma is light orange to reddish. The pollen is orange. Flower form is an open ball. Stems are green with a dark flush. That's just from observation that you get to know exactly the details on this, because there's no information that I found on it yet. Next. Yay, so these are the new cultivars that are coming, and it's called the Morning Series. Tried to get some good pictures. Publication is a little bit weird right now. So there's fairy, snowy, sunny, Alberta, Manitoba, purple, golden, pink, and Russian, and a couple others on the next page. So sunny morning was actually nicotine at one time, and Manitoba morning was actually Manitoba fox when it started its journey. Okay, next. And you can get some of the morning collection from the Lily Nook. So they have Alberta, Albie, Fairy, Golden, Manitoba, and Pink. And then on the left side, you can see Slate's Morning, which was a 2011 introduction, no longer available. Candy Morning and Scarlet Morning. But I would beware of conflicts because Scarlet looks an awful lot like a Moravian Night. So it's one of those things where we're going to have the Alba Morning looking like Lilium albiflorum. And the yellows could be mixed with any of the other clear yellows that are coming up, like Yayan seedlings. Yeah, so it could be some mixes going on with these. I look at Alberta Morning and go, oh, I've seen that as a seedling in the show. I think it's a Terry Willoughby. So next. Okay, so this was a 2010 Martagon show, Best in Show, and it was a seedling. Okay. Many winning seedlings will go on to be registered like Megan Evans. This one probably not, but it was so stunning. I thought I'd put it in there because you are going to see a lot of seedlings come up and get registered. So it will come up as a different name, or it might have a name sort of in the show, but when it gets registered, it'll be something that you might have seen as a seedling. Next. Again, this was a 2010 Martagon show. This is Arho Backhouse. So again, another picture of this is Arho Backhouse. Next. Questions?
Yes, I have a question. When I was studying in the university, which was more than 15 years ago, I heard about the double Martagon. Do you have any information about this plant, or have you seen it anywhere? So it's
I
the
have not
species
seen them.
Martagon.
Yeah, it is Flora plano. I've seen pictures. I haven't seen any in person or at the shows yet.
You have to be European.
Well, we're hoping that they come to Canada.
Well, there wasn't one of the suppliers in BC. Oh, this is going back about 10 years ago, out in BC somewhere. They had some lilies, and they said they had tissue culture of Pleniflora Martagon, and it turned out to be Martagon when it bloomed. There was no doubling in it whatsoever. I thought maybe the first year it would be. No, the second year, no. It was just Martagon. And
Yeah.
Judith.
Yeah. I think it's quite rare, and it might be hard to grow. So it just hasn't made the distribution yet.
What I
Okay.
was going to say is you're absolutely right about the morning series and these groups of Martagons, because all of those with their different names are coming from the Lily Company in Holland, and that's what they do. They
Yep.
just
They're
give it a name to,
notorious.
they just give it a name. And often it's so much like the name of the original clone, you can tell, which is no surprise. But that's why, and then people all over the world will buy from them because they're selling them wholesale in big larger quantities. And I give Niels kind of a hard time about that, but it drives him crazy too, because they'll say they're going to have these particular ones, and they never bloom the first year, and then it takes forever before you see what it's really like. And when you can finally tell, then you usually know kind of what it is. But he doesn't know those so well. And so I'm sure lots of other people don't know. But I mean, they've done the same thing in years past with my old things. But that's
Wh-
why you're getting them, and they'll give it a name series. It's a sales thing to do it that way. But so it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if somebody has a nice clone that they show at a show and that person sells them a bulb later and they propagate it. But that's what's going on there. I have a question that's kind of related, but kind of not, because I just have assumed that they did those in tissue culture because you couldn't blow up that many Martagons that fast otherwise. But I've never grown many Martagons. I tried to propagate Claude Shride, which that's one of the few that will come through our winters without rotting, you know, and because we're not frozen cold in the winter, we're wet, and they do not like that. But when I scaled Claude Shride, the scales would just look fabulous, but every time I would put them out, they would be burned in the summertime because they do have, you know, they don't have thick leathery leaves. They have the wrong kind. And so their thinner whorl leaves are made so that they can survive in the shade, but to stick them out in a lily field the first year after they're scaled just didn't work. So my question is, do you know how if they're not propagated by divisions, do other people have more success, or is there something I don't know about how to scale them?
There's actually scaled quite readily in Alberta. I think the thing is that when they're young, they do need shade.
And I think that's what I need to know, because yeah, the scale, they form bulblets beautifully. So I know that you know, they've done, Adam did really, really well with tissue cultures, and usually they go hand in hand. If something tissue cultures readily, it will scale readily because the same things are going on. But I just
Yeah.
never was able to do it. And so that was my question, because one of these cultivars that was beautiful, and you said doesn't propagate very quickly by natural division. And I wondered, well, how does it scale? You know,
It scales quite well, actually.
because sometimes I kind of sometimes I think if people would just learn that and learn to be happy, if you get a smaller bulb from scales, you know, it's not going to take you all those years to build up a big bulb. You'll have more luck in transplanting it as a young bulblet. And then maybe we could grow and propagate some here and do them better. But because I love the Martagons, but for us, they're really, really tricky. So
Yeah, you might do well to have like a row of what is it, the locust tree, and because that still leaves a lot of light to come through, so you can plant them in that shade. But
well,
you
I know,
will also
yeah.
have to do a bit of sand or vermiculating your soil because you have a
Okay.
lot of rain.
Yayan grows his in almost sand, and he also has a lot of shade. He
Well, you know,
grows
in
them
Oregon
in
Bulb
between the
Farms,
trees.
when I first came there 50 years ago, they had just stopped doing a lot of those specialty things they would do in lath houses. Do you remember what lath houses
Yes,
are?
yes, yes,
Mhm.
yes.
So, I mean, that's where they did things like Nepalense, and they did a lot of the Martagons. So that's probably, especially because they used to just produce pounds of seed and grow those.
So
And
that's probably what the Dutch do. They probably
yeah,
have,
yeah,
you know, that screening over some of their
yeah,
fields for
yeah.
the first year or two.
But for us,
Anyways,
boy, anyway.
okay, let's continue.
It's going to look like a ginseng farm.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of, the ginseng. Yes.
Ah, okay. What Martagon should I start my garden with? If you're new to Martagons, Dr. Eugene Fox suggested the garden be started with a Mrs. Barhow Backhouse, Dalhansonii, Claude Shride, Brocade, any white hybrid you can find, Lilium Martagon, and Lilium Martagon album. Most of these are now available for about $10 to $15 Canadian. And I would also suggest if you buy any cultivar, you can't confirm that you buy it again from another source and compare them. Also contact your local expert to help identify it or take a bloom to a lily show for ID. I really can't say enough about just buy it again. You know, if it comes back, oh, that's not what it is. buy it again from someplace else, grow it, and grow it as close to the original one as you can. I grew Pink Attraction right next to Gaybird. And when they came up, they were both the same thing. They were both Gaybird. So it was like, oh, now I have to buy it again. Next. And again, the best way to identify cultivars that are similar is to grow both and observe the differences and take pictures for reference. Attend as many lily shows as you can to see what new seedlings are up and coming. Also find out what new cultivars are circulating in your area. And some lily facts to end the presentation. Bare lily bulbs are lily beetle free. Lily bulbs can be stored in a refrigerator at 3 degrees Celsius. And I know Kentucky made it 3 years. Lilies can be grown in containers, although overwintering may be challenging in cold climates. Some lilies do best in sterilized soil where no disease or fungi has taken hold. Some lilies are disease resistant and are good garden lilies. Martagons are best planted immediately after digging up, after the leaves have browned in the autumn. Some lily species, Asiatics and Martagons, can be grown in Zone 2 in the Northwest Territories, which is about as far north as you can get. And other lilies do better in warmer zones. Species all have their own specific climate and areas and dirt and that, so you have to really look at what you're growing for species. But you know, other things can be grown in different areas. I'm trying Martagons in BC where it rains a lot, and right now it's snowing again. So I might have to amend my soil with a bit of sand to vermiculite.
Most of the Martagons I've seen that have grown well in Ontario are usually grown in sandier soil and near some shade. And the cooler the climate, let's say you're further north in zone 4 and 3, they seem to grow much better than where I am in zone 5, 6.
Yeah, it has something to do with not as much water and a lot more cold.
Yeah, they like the cold too. They like the cold.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what it
It's
is.
interesting. I have quite a large collection of Martagons, but I do have
You have shade.
20-foot fir trees all around me.
Yes.
And I live on a rocky hillside with sharp drainage. So, but it does rain a lot, and it does get hot in the summer. So anyway,
Oh.
they seem to do fine here.
Colin, they don't get that hot in the summer. Come on, you're in BC.
Hey, we had a heat dome once, and
Okay,
it was 40
okay.
degrees here.
That was the exception. That was the exception. You don't even have air conditioning in Vancouver. Come on.
Yeah, well, I've got the same scenario because I'm on the side of a mountain with a lot of cedar trees
You should be good then.
sharp drainage, but it rains a lot. So I'm hoping that the drainage helps.
The biggest problem I have is actually the roots of these trees get into the beds, and then they all my lilies start to dwindle because these fir roots are very thirsty and hungry, and you'll find that with your cedars as well. So then
Yes.
you're looking at some sort of root barrier to put in the garden beds. Yeah.
Yeah. Right now I made the Martagon bed out of a wild rose area. So I think I'm going to have more problems with wild roses.
Okay. That sounds serious.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Lori. This was an excellent presentation and gave the people a glimmer or a
Yes,
lot of knowledge
small.
and a glimmer of how to evaluate and judge Martagons and trying to figure out what cultivars they are. But the Lily Company has done their changing the name thing. So when you buy some of these Lily Company cultivars, beware. They may have another name, and there may be some confusion in the shows.
Yeah. Well, if they were lucky, they got them as a seedling and it wasn't named. So hopefully that's the case. And then there is no confusion.
Some of them are Yayan seedlings. I know for a fact that he sold some to Lily Company, and that was going back a few years now.
Yeah, hopefully he didn't name them.
You never know with Ian.
Yeah. Well,
I
I know when
will-
I get seedlings from him, he digs up the whole clump,
Right.
so there is no chance of him having it.
Well,
So-
I know he did sell some seedlings to Lily Company. So some of them a lot of these could be seedlings too from Yayan.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Any-
have a question.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah. This is for Judith Freeman.
Okay.
You mentioned, Judith, that you had these seeds. How would we go about contacting you if we would like to try some?
Oh, just send me an email to cplilies, cplilies@aol.com, and I'll be glad to send you some. And anybody who wants something weird should ask me, because I've got a lot of odd things in the freezer that I would like to get into the hands of people who are interested. So not big quantities, but of the Martagons, I've got a lot. So
Thank you very much.
you bet.
so coming up next time, March the 3rd on a Sunday, it's in the series What's That Lily? We're talking about trumpets, orientals, and species. So we'll have a little bit of everything that day. Any other questions? Comments? Again, thank you all for holding in there. And I guess it's Super Bowl weekend. So I hope you've got all your junk food and are willing to watch the Taylor Swift Super Bowl.
There's nothing more super than lilies. I'll tell you, they can keep their football.
Anyways,
Laurie
thank
wins
you.
the Super Bowl prize this week. Yeah.
That is the big event today.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So
signing out.
when is this Martagon show going to be, and where that you
Which?
talked about?
Oh,
Is it the
in
Alberta
Alberta,
Lily
yeah.
Society? Yeah. When is that going to be, and where?
it's
It's the
Beginning of
end
July.
of June.
yeah.
Yeah, we're having it the end of June this
June.
year.
Always-
And it's,
I would love to come to that sometime. Yeah.
oh, okay.
Because
Um,
I don't know a lot about Martagons, but I just love them. I think they're so beautiful.
Yeah, it's we're holding it at the Devonian Gardens again. I guess it's called the University of Alberta Botanic Gardens now. So same place as normal. But yeah, it's the end of June. Was it? It's going to be the July long weekend. July
Okay.
1st long weekend.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you again for a fabulous presentation, Lori. And it's time to sign off. And like I said, get to the Super Bowl or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, well, hopefully it got your interest up. I know it wasn't in depth, but you know, an hour and a half is not.
I think that's
It's
enough
a
for us
lifelong thing
beginners.
to learn about Martagons.
I know. You have the expertise. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Hey.
Signing
Thank you,
out.
Lauren. That was fabulous.
Thank you.
Bravo.
Bye.
Bye-bye.